Yo guys, Vision SGen here, bringing you the best loadouts to be using right now in Warzone Verdansk Part 3. In this video, I will identify the best meta weapons to be using as of right now, following the latest update, as well as the newer guns that are viable in case you guys don't have any of the Battle Pass weapons, or in case you guys just want to change it up and try new weapons for yourself. So, on that note, let's get right into it. So for this episode, this is number 3 of my best loadouts to be using in Warzone Verdansk. I've uploaded previous videos a couple of weeks back, which have basically identified the best meta weapons to be using from the Battle Pass, such as the Amax, Grau, and HDR. But also in episode 2, I went over the guns such as the AK, the Kompact, the Sorg, and the Kar 98, and so on. So go check them out, which are linked in the description below. But for this episode, I will be sharing updated classes from other meta weapons currently right now, following the latest in-season updates, but also some of the off-meta weapons that people aren't using that are definitely viable, but just for some reason people aren't commonly using them. So firstly, I just wanted to clarify the Battle Pass weapons that you guys should be aware of if you guys weren't already. So starting off with the best primary weapon to be using right now in the current long-range meta, which is probably arguably the best gun in the entire game anyways, is the one-shot sniper rifle, the HDR. This is unlocked on page 3 within the Battle Pass. As for the second weapon, this is the Grau, and this is unlocked on page 5 in the Battle Pass. As for the third weapon, this is the Amax, and this is unlocked on page 6 in the Battle Pass. As for the fourth and final item, this is the monolithic suppressor, which is essential in this current meta and unlocked on page 7 in this current meta and in the Battle Pass. Now, as for the guns in this video, we'll be starting with the submachine guns and with the newest addition to the game, which is the Ladra, a very versatile and effective submachine gun with an insane TTK, which I'll go over at the end of the video for all of the guns and their time to kills. But with the Ladra, like most subs, you'll want to be using the following attachments, which again can be changed, and I'll go over the adjustments and why you want to make them and so on throughout the video, so just bear that in mind. Now, as for my initial build, I'll be starting with the compensator, which is pretty much used for most of the submachine guns in this game. This can be changed, however, for the ported compensator for better first shot recoil control. If you notice the initial kick on the gun, that will really help you guys out if that's something you're noticing in your gunfights. And then as for the second attachment, I will be using the reinforced barrel. Typically, I've been sort of using a long barrel for all of the subs in this game. However, I have been testing this out between the two and trying to switch back and forth, as I'm not entirely set on which one works best, as I do feel that this gun lacks velocity, and therefore you want to also maintain your actual damage range on the sub, because that is vital, of course. So therefore the reinforced barrel is really effective and almost sort of fills that hole, but I'm still sort of testing out, so I'm not entirely set on which barrel I would be using. So maybe try them both out for yourselves, either long barrel or the reinforced barrel. As for the third attachment and the under barrel, some builds aren't even using this for recoil control. I've been testing different versions with and without for myself. Depends if you feel you need recoil control, then the vertical foregrip is for you. If not, and you want to basically run the Ranger for the speed benefits, however, if you're going to be using a stock, which I'll go over at the end of this build, is basically what you want to substitute in and out for. So if you're going to use a stock, then don't use the Ranger, and if you don't need recoil control, then you can go to the rear grip. So as for the rear grip, this is of course playstyle dependent really, but the Commando is pretty much the commonly used and most likely to be used on most of the builds I've seen. However, I do quite like the CQB rear grip for the slide and dive to fire speeds benefits, but also this attachment improves the actual sprint to fire speed as well. However, if you're a player that doesn't necessarily dive and slide into gunfights, then maybe the Commando rear grip is better for you. However, if you do like sliding and diving, but you don't necessarily want sprint to fire and you want instead ADS speed, because you feel that your actual aim down sight speed is just giving you sort of downsides in gunfights, or you're feeling that it's lacking in engagements, then I would go to the ergonomic rear grip instead. All three of these are all compatible and definitely viable for this weapon. Now, as for the fourth attachment for the extended mag, I would definitely be running extended mag 1, not 2 in my opinion. I feel 55 bullets is plenty for this gun. However, if you do feel like you're running out of ammo quite often in gunfights, then just obviously go to the number 2. But as this is a submachine gun and something I want to be heavily relying on movement speed and trying to maintain that pace on this gun, I will not be using 2, because I just feel it brings down the speed on this gun just ever so much to the point where it's a bit more noticeable in gunfights. And then as for the fifth attachment, as I've alluded to in the video, the stock is what I'll be using, the balanced stock, for the movement speed and sort of control benefits that you gain from this. This is not something I would necessarily change. The only time I would change this is if you take this attachment off and then put the Ranger underbarrel on instead. But of course, you're then going to lack some recoil control, so just make sure you're balancing that out with your entire build. But that's pretty much it in summary for all of the attachments and the level of detail you guys need to be aware of for all of the attachments individually for these guns. I won't go for the rest of the video. I won't go into the level of detail that I have on this same gun. Just I wanted to make you guys aware, as I have done in previous videos, to make you guys fully aware of what attachments you'll want to be using, when you should consider them, and why, so that you guys are aware, because I appreciate there are many different builds out there. Everyone has their own different playstyle, and it's just making you guys aware that what they are sort of best suited for and exactly when you would use them. Same with the sort of guns. It's the same sort of concept and principle that you would use an AR for longer range gunfights over a submachine gun, and a submachine gun for close quarter gunfights, and so on. It's just that understanding which attachments benefit each different playstyle is key, and I find that some videos just don't go into that level of detail. So I just wanted to make sure I summarized that for you guys before we got into the rest of the guns, so that you guys are fully aware on every little sort of intricate detail that you can change to suit your style As for the second weapon in this video and maintaining that submachine gun meta, we will be using the C9, which has just received a damage buff in Season 3, which is now one of the best weapons to be using right now at close quarters. Now, just like with the Ladra, we'll be using the compensator, the long barrel, the Ranger foregrip, the extended mag 1, and the CQB rear grip. Now, of course, the Ranger, as I mentioned, can be changed for better recoil control if you feel so, therefore use the vertical. And of course, the extended mag 1 can be changed to 2 if you feel like you're running out of ammo quite often. And then, of course, the rear grip can be changed playstyle dependent to suit your style. Some builds have used a stock, so you could substitute either the mag or the rear grip if you want to try a stock yourself. I don't feel it's necessary, but this is my build for this. Now, as for the third weapon in this video and this third sub, this is more of a sniper support submachine gun in my opinion. It's fast, but not as quick as the Kompact Sorg or C9. It uses the compensator, the long barrel, the fast mag 1 with a 50 ammo count, the CQB rear grip, and no stock, which basically provides speed benefits. Now, some builds have used the fire mod, which basically provides bullet velocity, but I don't feel this gun actually needs it itself. And then just remember, with submachine guns, this is the purpose of using a submachine gun is, of course, for the actual close quarter benefits. So you want to be making sure you maximize this advantage by getting up close and personal, playing through buildings, and just pressuring teams and getting close to them as quick as possible and playing aggressive. And again, that just sort of links to your play style. If you're not someone that does that, then I wouldn't necessarily be using a submachine gun. It can bail you out in certain situations, but if you're not going to be playing fast or you're not going to be using the aggressive benefits from this, then I wouldn't necessarily use a submachine gun. And of course, compatibility for your main weapon. You don't want to be using a gun that leaves you in a middle range area. So if you're using a sniper and a sub, you're going to lack that medium area when AR is going to benefit. So you just need to, again, factor into your playstyle on how this will benefit you and where you sort of end up in most situations to sort of see which benefits you can gain. So some situations you may want to actually use an AR instead of a sniper, so you have a long to medium range benefit and then a close quarter benefit. So I just wanted to give some tips and tricks and advice on just when to use a sub and why you should be using them, as I have found some players just, it doesn't make sense to me why they have a sub. They'll play on a rooftop the entire game and then they'll run out in the open and they'll try to be moving with a sub and have to shoot someone at 30, 40, 50 meters, and it just doesn't really add up. Whereas if you're using a submachine gun, you want to be making sure you're pushing buildings into gunfights and playing aggressive, because that's where you're going to gain the advantage of actually having a submachine gun. Otherwise, you may as well just have an AR and make it even faster build. It's basically an AR support is what they call them instead. So just wanted to give you guys a bit of an overview on that, because I've seen some players just don't use it quite right. Now, as for the fourth weapon in this video is the HDR. This has had some slight adjustments to it. It still remains the main go-to in the new season and Verdansk throughout. However, I have been testing new and different builds for better performance, but also just enjoyment purposes as well. And this build seems to be a lot better for me than the others that I've used so far and shared in previous videos. So for me, I'll be using the HDR with the monolithic suppressor, the gain twist barrel for bullet velocity benefits, which has basically been substituted for the lightweight bipod that I previously used for the sway benefits, the fast mag 1 instead of an extended mag 1, which has massively helped me out, and I've noticed this massively, so this is a good one that I've changed, the quick draw rear grip for the speed benefits, and of course the light stock, which has massively helped me out as well in terms of speed benefits, because I'm not typically a sniper that sort of sits deep. I like to use it for the pick benefits, to get a pick, crack someone, and then push them. That's sort of how I play, and that's sort of the style me and my sort of teammates play with, and that just benefits me. However, if that's not sort of your style and you want sort of better idle sway, then maybe the lightweight, the sort of bite pod is better for you, and just changing the build to my previous build on another episode is maybe better for you. But overall, this has worked quite well for me. Now, as for moving on in the video, for the fifth weapon for this video is the Krig. This is basically absolute meta following the mid-season update. This is something that has just become very viable. I noticed it about a week or two ago that this was a really good weapon, but I've just seen that people are now using it and caught on based on the new buffs that this gun has just had following the latest patch updates. And this is basically a really, really easy gun to use, low recoil and high accuracy, but also a Black Ops 6 weapon. So a little point that I wanted to mention is the camos. If you're someone like me that has actually grinded and taken the time to get those master camos in the game, you take great pride in actually using them and sort of representing the actual camo that you've spent a lot of time getting. And for the most part, a lot of these sort of new battle pass and newly added weapons, you can't get them unless you go and regrind the whole entire process again, which for the most part we don't really want to do. If you've done the process already, it's not something you want to keep having to do for every new gun. So it is really nice and refreshing to use a Black Ops 6 weapon, a gun that was previously added back in the start of the game and that you can reuse again, which is basically what I mentioned in the previous video for the likes of the GPR, an off-meta weapon that's just not commonly used throughout, but definitely viable and has a great TTK. And that just leads me on to the final weapon I wanted to go over, which is the Model L. Quite controversial to put into here as a meta weapon to be using right now, but I have been killed by this once or twice in the last couple of weeks, and I mean this gun shredded me. I didn't even have a chance to shoot back. I was maybe running out in the open, and someone's just sitting there they hit every single headshot, and I actually thought that the person was cheating at first, and then I watched the video and they just weren't, but they just hit every single shot on the head, and it literally melted me to the point where I was like, this gun has to be viable in some way. So I went and looked at it, and it definitely is a good gun, and definitely something that you guys should probably try out for yourselves if you want to change it up, and again, maintain that Black Ops 6 meta, and that sort of trying to use those guns that you have those camos for. And again, the nostalgia aspect maybe for the fact that this gun was already once really dominant at the early part of this game, and if something you quite enjoy, then this is the gun for you. And for the attachments, I've been using the Willis 3x sight, which again is always preference for any sight, the reinforced barrel, the monolithic suppressor, the vertical foregrip, and the extended mag 2. This is what I have found to be really effective. And as for the TTKs for all of the guns in this video, I'll go over from the start to the end. So for the Ladra actually has a 560 millisecond up to 15 meters in damage range for the time to kill. The PP has a 672 milliseconds TTK for up to 15 meters. The C9 has a 656 time to kill up to 12 meters, but of course headshots are key for this gun, otherwise it drops off massively. The Model L has a 700 milliseconds TTK up to 33 meters, and then drops down to 800 milliseconds up to 62 meters, which is actually really viable considering that range. And then of course the Krig has a 658 milliseconds TTK up to 53 meters, making it one of the best ARs to be using right now, especially for the long range meta. In summary, there are multiple viable different submachine guns in this game. There's an updated HDR class as the main primary weapon currently used in Verdansk, and probably the most commonly used one that you'll see people using. And then of course some newly and different ARs to be using following the latest update, with some patches following the buffs and nerfs for all of the previous and existing guns in the game, changing the meta up slightly from the AK and the Amax to now different ARs, and of course a different sniper build to give you guys a faster version of the HDR itself, in case that's the sort of playstyle you guys have. But anyways guys, there you have it. That's the full episode for the best guns to be using right now in Warzone Verdansk Part 3. If you guys want to go check out the other videos for the other meta weapons that are currently used or have been used in the past, go check them out, linked in the description and on my channel down below. So be sure to go check that video out if you want to go see those builds. But if you guys enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and if you have any alterations that you'd make to these loadouts or any sort of implementations for new guns that I haven't thought of or should recommend in a new video, let me know down below in the comments and I'll get right back to you. I'm VisionSGen, and I'll see you in the next one.